intense but definitely worthwhile conversations. A podcast focused on bringing people together by drinking, listening, and conversing. So grab your favorite drink and let's see what's on today's menu. All right, people, welcome to Peeps Creek, the cafe. You know, here at the cafe, we always have a conversation centered around a drink. And today I am drinking on Witch's Heart. Haha, I changed it up once again, and I am doing a vodka-based drink, and I have it in this large cup, so you can't really see it, but it's purple. And then I have water, H2O, to hydrate the soul whenever I need. You know who I am, but just in case you don't, my name is Sean, and today I am joined in the cafe by Denise. Say hello, Denise. How are you?
I am good. Hi, how are you? Oh, I
I'm
feel like I
doing
need
similar.
something on my lips. Like they're just pale.
Yeah, I feel like you need something on that wall and some better lighting, but we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
what are you drinking on over there?
I'm actually drinking on some Nightjar wine.
Okay. Is that the same one from the last episode?
It is.
Okay. And also today we are joined by another person. It is Humberto. Say hello, Humberto.
Hello.
Hello. And where are you waving from?
I'm waving from my apartment in Portland, Oregon.
All right. Now, you know, here we always have a conversation centered around a drink. So, what are you drinking on, young Slager?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. I am drinking spicy tamarind mango nada with some tamarind Mexican candy. So made it a little
Nice.
fancy today
Okay.
and matching with my outfit as well.
Is that red or orange? Orange, right?
Yeah, it's orange.
And what's the alcohol base in that, sir?
This is vodka.
Vodka. All right. All right. So I think this is the first time we've actually did an episode where 3 people were virtual. Like, because before it was always 2 people in one location and you somewhere else, Denise. I think.
If we don't include the book,
Yeah, not including the
reviews,
book club.
yeah, I think so.
This is the first time. So this is exciting. We get to see the expensive nature of this virtual studio. All right. So we are back on True Crime again. We are episode 79. Episode 79 is The Fire That Took Her. This is a situation that occurred in Columbus, Ohio, I believe. I know it was in Ohio. I know the trial was in Columbus. So I'm assuming because was in Columbus courthouse that the issue occurred in Columbus, right?
I don't know. I don't think they even said that.
They did not say it. Was just my
Okay.
independent research.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was in Ohio.
It was in Ohio. And so, for full disclaimer, this is a conversation that's centered around domestic violence. And so, what I want to do is this was something that actually showed up at the very beginning of this documentary. It was about an hour and 40 minutes, maybe give or take. But the quote was, and I don't know who to attribute the quote to, but the name of the documentary is the same as this podcast episode, The Fire That Took Her. And it says, quote, domestic violence is an undeniable part of American cultural landscape, with 1 in 4 women experiencing everything from battery to torture to murder and beyond. And this is the story of the beyond. All right. So this happened on August the 2nd, 2015. And it involves 2 particular individuals, one by the name of Judith Ann Malinowski, who goes by Judy, and then a Michael Slager, that's Slager. But when you go through the episodes, they show Facebook messages. I don't know if either of you picked this up, but on the Facebook messages, it said William Slager. So
Yeah, it said William M. So I think this
Michael
is
is his middle name.
Yeah.
That's why when you Google him, Michael Slager, it doesn't necessarily come up because Michael Slager is this other murderer, a cop.
I saw that.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. I'm glad we on the same boat. All right. So go ahead, Denise. You kind of want to tell the people how it kind of starts.
So it starts with the 911 call from someone that actually witnessed what was going on. And it kills me every time we do these episodes and it has a 911 call because they're so frantic and the operators are always like, "Man, please come down. I can't hear you." And it's like, how? Like don't ask me to calm down when I just witnessed somebody put fire on somebody else. Like, I can't come down. Don't ask me to do that. But anywho, so it starts with the 911 phone call. And the lady that is on the call states that a man, I can't remember exactly how it started, but she says that a guy sat next to the lady. He's still here and he poured gas over her and lit her on fire.
Yeah. So, and it sounded like initially, first of all, to be fair, on this particular 911 call, I didn't understand what the hell the lady was saying. The
She
first one.
was frantic. Just imagine yourself going through, witnessing something like
Yeah,
that.
but ma'am, I need to get to the fucking location. In order for me to get to the fucking location,
Don't let me
I
get
need
Sean
to,
as the 911 operator.
I need to know what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? But and it seemed to be a bypasser. It wasn't anyone associated with Judy or Michael. But yes, so then it kind of comes back, and then we kind of hear the full story of what the 911 caller is basically saying. She says that a girl was sitting on the grass, and then all of a sudden, some guy came over, and she was on fire. Right. That's the snippet that we heard. And so apparently it was the allegation it was is that Michael, who was dating Judy at the time, Michael had poured gasoline on top of her and then lit her on fire, even though he says that didn't occur in that particular fashion. And this happened on the outside or behind a speedway. And for those of you who don't know what a speedway is, a gas station. So it's just ironic that he that the fire happened right behind the speedway. But then we meet another player who is the investigator. His name is Michael. Is it? Oh no, Chad Cohagen. Is that his name, right? The
Yes,
investigator.
yes, Luke. Yeah,
And
lead detective Chad
did
Cohagen.
either of you thought it was? And this has not been funny, but either of you thought it was ironic that he received the call while he was at a barbecue?
At a barbecue with his family, right? That's crazy. I know. I thought that. I was like, oh wow.
That's like, yeah, that's like really ironic. And then he got the phone call and he thought it was like, okay, why are we going here? It's just like some small fire.
Yeah,
And then
so
get
sad.
there and it's like totally different than what you really expect. And so you see some imagery of or video footage of the fire. But I don't know. I could not, everything that the investigators were saying was occurring, I could not distinguish that. Either of you?
So
That was hard.
well, you see, it was hard for me with the first time I watched it because I shared it with Sean. I was like, yeah, I couldn't see what they were seeing. But the second time that I watched it, I could see him, I could see her stepping away from him. I can see him going
Mhm.
towards her. I can see then the fire. You see her lit on fire and her literally on the floor.
Yeah.
You could see
Okay.
that the second time that I watched
So
it.
I didn't gather that until the mother went to the police station and watched the video. And I thought I saw that, particularly the whole backing up thing away from him. And we're kind of jumping, but that's fine. We'll get to it. The whole backing away from, I didn't see that until the portion where they show the mother going into the video. So Judy is 31 at the time of this incident on August the 2nd, 2015. Her and Michael kind of for unless you all think differently, they kind of have a tumultuous relationship in the sense of they kind of started in a bad place for a bad reason. And it apparently is clear they ended up in a bad place, but they began dating in April of 2015. And I think it sounds like they met on Facebook. I don't know. Did you all get some other perspective of how they met?
No, to me, it seemed like that was how they met.
Yeah. And so William at the time was 40. So 9 years older than Judy. And they don't tell you this, but you have to do some research. He was 40. And so yeah, so then the mother is introduced. And who is the mother? Humberto, do you remember the mother's name?
I remember her name being Bonnie, but I don't know if she had a different name than that.
Yeah, Bonnie.
But yeah,
So
Bonnie.
Bonnie Bowles is the mother. And then she says that 20 minutes before the incident, she was just on the phone with Judy. They were having a conversation. And then around 20 minutes later, that she received a phone call from the police basically saying that the two individuals, the two Ben Michael and Judy, were on fire, are in the hospital because they caught on fire. And so she was initially frantic because she thought both of them were injured in some kind of freak accident, right? And it's weird because when she then gets a phone call while they are driving, and the hospital is basically saying that they need to intubate Judy. And so that signaled to her that it was worse than what she thought, because she paralleled that to the fact of her being on life support. She gets to the hospital. She doesn't immediately go to Judy's room because there's some confusion, but it's also ironic that the person she sees is who?
Michael.
Michael, yeah.
All right.
Does it seem to you guys that the mom was like still in a state of shock throughout the entire documentary?
Yeah, it felt like she was definitely still processing. I feel like,
Yeah.
I mean, and even she says it later in the documentary about like how this is kind of like traumatizing for the whole family, including herself. She doesn't reference herself in that statement, but she talks about like the familial trauma that this incident is like causing on all of them. And I feel like she's probably still healing from it.
Yeah.
And like talking about it and remembering like all those like emotions she was experiencing when she found out to through the whole process, probably still kind of like
Yeah.
in
And you can
shock a
tell
little
that
bit.
it's affected them so much that to me, every time she would come to the, every time they would interview her and she would come to the TV, to me, it felt like she didn't believe this happened. Like, how did this happen? And every time she spoke, it was like she was still trying to process it, even with how many times, like Sean mentioned, that he didn't see the stuff in the video until she went to the detective. Even then, I'm sure she's seen this video plenty of times. Her reactions looking at the video was still like if she was watching the video for the first time.
Yeah, but I also felt like she was also not just processing that this happened to her daughter, but for me, it felt like she was also processing that Michael did it, that he actually did the act. Because even
Yeah.
when she went to the hospital, I think when she went to the hospital, Michael kind of immediately went to this. It was an accident. It was an accident. And so she's basically saying to Michael, "What do you mean it's an accident?" And it sounds as if maybe some of the detectives who at that point had already watched the video, because they said that the ATM that was pointed towards that particular area had caught the imagery of the incident, the video of the incident, and they had went into a room in a hospital and FaceTimed so that they can watch the video. So I think the officers at that point, when the mother came on, they had already saw or came to the conclusion preliminarily that in fact Michael did it. So do you all want to kind of tell kind of what Michael's perspective of what happened? Because Judy couldn't talk at that point because she was intubated.
Well, I guess I can say it, but he was basically saying, if I remember correctly, that they were got into an argument, and he was just wanting she threw a can of soda at him and ruined his clothes, and that he poured gasoline on her to also ruin her clothes, but that he did not intend to like burn her or like harm her in any way. Just wanted to get back at her for burning that, for ruining whatever he had on. And then she then like fell to the ground and was like apologizing and being like, "No, don't leave, and was like, "Can you get me a cigarette?" And that he got her a cigarette, got her a lighter, and like lit it, and then it accidentally just like lit up on fire. She lit up on fire, and that he did not intend to do that, and he did not think that he would get that hurt, and that's why he got the fire extinguisher and put her out.
So that's the second story. Yes, but his first story was what?
His first
Do y'all
story,
remember?
that she had filled the truck up with gas, and she got some gas on her as she had filled the truck up with gas. And so he went to lit up the cigarette because she was going to smoke. And because she had some gas spilled on her, she lit on fire.
Okay. Now, let's assume for sake of argument that you heard that story for what you saw in the video. Would you believe that?
I would.
I mean, I could, because I couldn't really tell what was happening in the video until they described it, and I was like, okay, that's what's going on. But by just watching the video, I could probably believe that.
Okay.
And
without any other context.
I would have believed it because I'm going to share a story with you guys. When I was pregnant with Davian, I went to a gas station and it was before work. And I poured gas and I didn't realize, you know how the gas has the thing that keeps the gas from, not that keeps the gas, but that allows the gas to continue to flow so you don't have your hands on it. I had not realized that had by itself activated. And when I tried to take it out, all the gas poured on me. Literally on me.
So basically what I hear you say is that you tried to do attempted murder on my unborn child.
Yes, that's exactly what you just heard.
Wow.
But listen, I was so afraid
Wow.
because my job was like, no, you have to come to work. I went to work like that. And as soon as I came through the door, they were like, oh, this stinks like gas. Like, what is going on? And when I told them what happened, they sent me home. But I could believe because what if I was a smoker? You know what I mean? And I would have thought that, oh, there's nothing wrong with just, I don't know. I think it's a possible story.
All right. And so as Humberto kind of took us to the situation, once the officer kind of confronted Michael and was basically saying, look, you told us that story. It don't really pan out. The video doesn't support that. So kind of tell us what happened, because he basically then asks, am I under arrest? They basically say yes. So, and he asks, why am I under arrest? And he is under arrest at that particular point for felonious arson and aggravated assault, right? And so that's when he gives the story that she threw pop in his face. And for those of you out there who don't know pop, because that's what we call in Detroit, it is soda. Okay. Those people who live in Alabama, it is Coke. Okay. That's what they call every flavor of any soda, Coke. But back home in Detroit, we called it pop. So she threw some pop in his face and it messed up his clothes. And first of all, my first reaction to that was like, bro, I saw the way you dressed. You dressed shitty.
Saw the outfit.
That was definitely a bum outfit. You worry about some pop on that.
That was
outfit.
Probably his best outfit.
Yeah, okay.
You don't know.
Yeah, I ain't gotta know. But so he gets upset, and then because Humberto was trying to be too nice about it, he gets upset and he says, "Oh, bitch, you gonna mess up my outfit? I'm gonna mess up you." So then he goes, now instead of just going to get some retaliatory soda like a red pop, he goes around the car and pulls his gasoline and says clothes and throws Vaseline on him. Now, what he then says is that after he did that, she was basically saying, "Don't leave, Papa, give me a cigarette." So he went back and gave her a cigarette, and as he lit the cigarette, she kind of went up ablaze, right? But
can I mention two things?
Yeah.
I think that what set him off is that not only did she throw, he says that not only did she throw the pop at him, she spit in his face.
Yeah, he did say that.
And we all know that, well, I'm not going to say we all know, but to some people, that's an insult, spitting in your face. And I think the other thing we didn't mention is that he claims that he threw the gas on her, but because she took her sweater off, he didn't think it would cause any reaction because that's where the gas had gone to, the sweater. And by her not having the sweater on anymore, it was okay for him to light the cigarette.
Well, that's what his lawyer says that he says, but Michael didn't say that in the hospital.
No, he didn't say that in the hospital. Yes, but
yeah, so that was the after.
We need to mention that too.
Yeah, that was the after effect. But yes, because that goes to the fact that why the lawyer is basically saying they can't prove attempted murder because Michael indicated that he saw the shirt off, and so since he assumed the shirt was off, he had no knowledge or intent to burn her, because if he wanted to light her on fire, that he would have burnt the sweater, not her, not give her the cigarette. Yeah. But yeah, okay, so let's just assume for sake of argument she did spit in his face. Okay, why would you throw gasoline? Why would you go and get a big bucket of gasoline? What of all things would make you walk around away from where you were, because they were not in front of the vehicle right there. He had to actually physically walk to the vehicle and walk around the vehicle, go behind in the truck, pull out a big black can of gasoline and bring it over there. So
And then get the
And
lighter
And
and
light it.
lighter a
Yeah.
fire.
yeah, I mean, it's asinine. It makes absolutely no sense what he was talking about. But okay, so that's kind of the story. And so she is burnt. 95% of her body is burnt. And they show some of the items that she was wearing, and it showed how the fire kind of just melted the items, and it almost looked like it melted some of it to her actual body that it was on, because some of them
Mhm.
they said they didn't have to cut off because of the way the fire went. Okay, so and there was a witness who was there, the male. Do you remember what the male said to the officer? This is in regards to the fire extinguisher.
Oh yeah, that he's the one who actually got the fire extinguisher first, and Michael was just standing there. And to him, it seemed that because he saw the guy coming with the fire extinguisher, that's when he felt like he needed to go and get one.
He been Michael.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, that's when Michael went into Kappa to save a person and try to go find the extinguisher to extinguish her out.
But
Go ahead. You
I
better
was
say
just
something.
gonna say, because if you guys remember from the first lady, she said that he sat next to her while she was on fire.
She did say that. But did she say on fire or after he threw the gasoline on her? Because I thought it was after he.
I think he said on
Yeah,
fire.
I think she said on fire. And then all the 911 calls, they all said he's still there. He's still there. Like,
That might be right.
Hmm.
Yeah, might be right. So it could just be. I mean, what if his argument is that he was just in shock and he couldn't move, he didn't know what to do.
let me throw some gas on you, see how shocked you're gonna be, sir.
You throw some gas on me. First of all, you throw some gas on me, I'm running straight to you so I can burn your motherfucking ass up
Not
right with
you.
me.
I'm saying Michael.
Oh,
If he dares to say that he was in shock and that's why he didn't move, well, sir, let me throw some gas at you and see.
okay. So let's kind of talk about their relationship. So they met on Facebook, and there's allegations. Well, Judy admitted to being addicted to heroin. Am I saying that word correctly? I always fuck it up because it stemmed from her in 2013. She had a surgery. It was either 2013 or something. She had a surgery for ovarian cancer, and there were some complications as a result of that caused her to have to receive oxycodone and Percocet to deal with the pain. And so she indicates that she had contacted her mama, and this is the mother speaking, that Judy contacted her and was basically like, "Mom, I'm getting addicted to these pills." And it almost felt like the mom was feeling guilty about the addiction, the overall addiction to other
Hmm.
things. But the mom was basically saying, "Look, they're giving you this for a reason. Just take the prescribed amounts and you should be fine." But what happens is, according to, and we hear this from Judy's mouth later, and we'll talk about when she actually comes out of it and begin talking. But she had lost her insurance, and because she lost her insurance, she needs to find some way to get kind of the medicine that she was using for her pain to balance the pain that she was receiving. And it sounded like she was at one point getting oxycodone on the black market, like off the streets. And then Michael is the one who introduced her to heroin. Did you all see that differently, or am I misstepping there?
No, I think that's what
Yeah,
I
me
heard too.
too.
Okay. But what was striking to me is that when I heard that, I initially thought they both were drug addicts. But the sister seems to think differently, right? The sister had the perspective that Michael was never on drugs. What do you all think about that? That he, if in fact he wasn't on drugs, but he's the one supplying her the drugs. What do you think about that dynamic?
I mean, I believe it. I mean, it didn't seem like he was like addicted to anything, and even being at the hospital, like he wasn't like going through some sort of like relapse, or like his body wasn't fighting the sobriety that he was experiencing while he was there, or like apparent, what we saw, the footage that we saw. And I feel like, just understanding like abusive relationships, he wanted to have control, and his one way that he was having control over her was by him being the drug dealer and giving her the drugs and having her being dependent on him to get those drugs to satisfy her
But
addiction.
why don't you think he was doing that out of love because she was in pain?
Because Why would you give someone you love drugs?
because
Hello.
she doesn't have insurance to get the oxycodone. So this
Listen,
is
if he loved her, he wouldn't have set her on fire. Next.
He wouldn't have
You
poured
know what I mean?
gasoline. He
Like,
wouldn't have given her
come on
drugs.
now.
but I
He
think
wouldn't have hit
uh,
her. Wait, he never hit her, right?
yes, there's
Yes, remember she
allegations.
had marks in her face, and the sister says that he
Oh, right.
choked.
He did hit her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so can we talk a little bit about the mom's dynamic with Michael? What did you all think about that? I honestly felt something. I had sympathy for the mother, but I also was like in my head attacking her because I'm like, bitch, why are you like being friends with this motherfucker? He's already been accused of choking your daughter. You know that your daughter is on drugs, even though he's telling you that she's stealing the money and doing X, Y, and Z. Why are you believing him? Like, I don't know. I got kind of angry. Aisha, let's
Exactly.
go.
Listen, I don't know if I think I only felt sympathetic with the mother as she's telling the story because I can still see that it's affecting her. But other than that, my
Hmm.
feelings towards the mom was rage. I wanted to just, if I could go through that TV and just punch her, I would. But we could go into that later. But I will say that
No,
I
but
think
why?
because I don't like the way she speaks to the oldest daughter. I don't think she has compassion enough for the situation the girls are going through. I think that she's not
Hmm.
sympathetic. I think that she's very like confrontational with her. Oh, I could go on. But to answer your question, she didn't like him. She didn't like him from the beginning, and she didn't even want the girls around him. I think the fact that Judy must have told him how the mother felt, and he came then to the house to, I would say, confront the mother and say, just because I have tattoos and I look the way that I look doesn't mean that I'm a bad guy, and if you're Christian or whatever, you can't judge me. I think that is probably what softened her and made her then be the way she was towards him.
When she said that? When did she say
Hmm.
that?
Yeah, she said that in the when they were describing how he first came into Judy's life. She was talking about how she didn't like him, and then he did that, and she was like, "Oh, right, maybe I should check myself before I judge." Eventually, there's like text exchanges where she's like, "Get away from my daughter, like leave her alone."
And he's like,
So you
nope.
can see that she changes. Yeah.
Okay, and so for those of you out there, this is the guy, William Michael Slager. And so as you can see, he has tattoos up through his neck and all without the shirt and all on his sleeves and all of that. Okay. Okay, but here's what I think that okay, so he went and confronted her because I felt like this documentary shows so many facets of dealing with grief, dealing with issues. And I also felt like this is a situation where I think religion got in the way of reasonableness, right? Because in that particular aspect, it appears as if Bonnie is super religious, right? At least that's what I gather. She gave me
Hmm.
religious energy. And the reality is that there were telltale signs that he was not good for your daughter. And the fact that he came and confront you was not out of love, but it was out of disrespect. And because you are basically saying that I need not to judge a person, that's allowing your religion to like go out of what a reasonable person would do, particularly when you know that your daughter has an addiction. Because at that particular point, she knew that the daughter had an addiction because the reality is that both daughters, Judy had two kids, they were not living with Judy at that time. The youngest was living with
Hmm.
the grandma. No, the youngest was living with the sister, and the oldest was living with the grandmother. So you know, or you knew at that particular point that there were some issues, and the fact that you allowed this dude who you already had issues with or had concerns with to make you kind of turn that leaf. To me, I felt like it was her religion kind of pushing her in the wrong way in that perspective. Because I don't think I would do that.
Hmm.
I don't know if you all think thought differently about that. Um,
I mean, I
Yeah.
agree. I just feel like abusers can be very charismatic. Like they know how to be charming. They know how to like get what they want. They can be very manipulative. And so that's just another sign of manipulation, which is another red flag, like, oh, he's able to like manipulate my perspective, based on this. Like, he knows how to get me, and so that should have been a red flag. But it's also like I can believe that it could work because she was very religious. And so I feel bad for Bonnie. I feel like I could see her pain as she was like telling this story. And so I felt sorry for her. I also did feel rage because, like, how do you, like, knowing all the things that you both said, like, how do you still allow that to happen? But at the same time, it's like Judy was a grown woman, like, she was an adult. Like, what is she gonna do also at that point? Like, how do you stop this relationship from happening when, I don't know. Yeah, this incident was just like really messy.
Yeah.
It just impacting everybody in different ways.
Yeah.
It was very
Yeah.
intense.
Okay. And so ultimately, he is taken to court and he pleads guilty to aggravated assault and felonious arson, right? He pled guilty to both of those, didn't he?
So pleading no contest is pleading
No.
guilty?
So what no contest means is that it's not admitting guilt. It's not saying I'm innocent. What it's saying is, I see the evidence that you have against me, and that based upon the evidence that you have against me, I believe that is sufficient evidence by which a jury may say that I'm guilty. And so instead of me saying that I'm guilty, because ultimately people do this because A, they don't want to say they're guilty or they got a chip on their shoulder. But there is enough evidence to say, listen, I get it. I might be convicted of it and I might receive a more serious serious sentence. So therefore, let me just do no contest as part of this plea deal, right? And so the person, the defendant at that particular time gets to walk away with their dignity of not saying that I pled guilty, but also the prosecution at that point gets to have some kind of conviction. But the problem with that is that it was infuriating to many people, and particularly the family, because the sentence was what?
11 years.
11
years,
years.
and that's the max, right? And remember what the judge said. What did the
Yeah.
judge say when she was sentencing him?
All I wrote was take him out because she was mad.
When Judge
Yes.
Joyce, was that her name?
The lady.
Yeah, she
Do you remember?
she wanted him
Go
to.
ahead.
Yeah, she was dragging him. She was like, "You're a monster. You're trash. You're despicable." She's like, "I blame legislators for not being able to sentence you a little bit
Yeah.
more, or like to the max extreme or
Yeah.
whatever."
So she
And
wanted
she
to do
said,
more than
I
11.
liked her.
I saw your charges. I saw your
Yeah.
record or something.
Your record.
And let's talk about that. What's his record?
A lot. I didn't write them down because there was so many that I was like,
It was like 31
Yes.
different things. And
And including domestic
yeah,
violence.
so he had like
abuse.
31 different run-ins with the law, and I don't know if they all were convictions, and I was trying to pull it up, but now it just dawned on me why I couldn't find it, because his middle name is Michael, not the first name. But he was a sex offender. He had breaking and entering. He had theft. He had aggravated assault. He had other domestic violence charges. He had sexual battery. He had child endangerment, stalking, and rape. And I wonder, do you all think Judy knew these things or not?
I personally,
I doubt
I
it.
don't think so. I don't think that
Yeah.
in the frame of mind that she was in when she met him, she's
Mhm.
not thinking, do you have any charges? Like, let's have a conversation and see what charges do you have on you. I don't think she was even thinking of that.
Mhm.
So you all, when you all meet people, you don't like Google them to see if they're a sex offender or stuff, or
There's
like.
a difference. Remember, we are not in the position that she was in when she met
No,
him.
this has nothing to
Yeah.
do with her. I'm asking y'all, do y'all?
Not to check if they're on the
Oh,
sex
No,
offender.
like-
I checked. I do all kind of Googling check to make sure. Like yeah, I do. Yes, but I
Well,
agree.
I mean, I feel like we're also like more or less rational people where
Exactly.
we could probably gauge who we're talking to and make a safe assessment. And then if there's red flags, we can do any sort of Googling that's needed. But she wasn't in that clear mind. I think she was very much survival mode, trying to just get the next drug, the next hit to make her feel
Okay,
good.
but I'm gonna
And
push that.
this
I'm
man
gonna
gave it to her.
push that rational thinking thought a little further, because remember the guy Jared Kogel, the Subway guy, who lost all that weight by eating Subway sandwiches,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
and he went to jail for child prostitution
Yeah.
and wanting to deal with all these kids. and he was married, and his wife had no idea he had 2 kids, and she thought she was rationally getting into a great relationship. The point of that is, and everyone thought he was such a beautiful human being. I bring that up because I also watched that documentary today, and I think that's a good documentary to talk about. But it was the reality of how he fooled people
Yeah.
for 20 plus years, right? Now, I'm saying, look at this dude. I not to put
Not to
not
judge on their
not to
appearance.
Not to judge him.
but I'm judging him. Okay. I saw him immediately. I was like, oh my God, is he in a biker gang? What is going on? Like, what? Like, I'm Googling his motherfucking name as soon as I saw him walk through the door. But yes, okay. But go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, I
going
will
ahead.
say this though, to some women, there's a sexy appeal to that. You know, the bad boy image, the having all the tattoos, that biker appearance of being a biker gang guy, you know. So, in a way, I could see where she may have been attracted to him, you know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So at some point, we hear from the prosecution, and I thought that this was very sad part, is that the before they even got the no contest plea from Michael, do you remember what the prosecutor said?
Is it that they basically were waiting for her to die?
Exactly. So they didn't initially take
Oh
him to
yeah.
court on those other charges, the aggravated assault, the felonious arson, because they were kind of in this holding pattern because they were waiting for her to die. And then we hear from the nurse who basically says that she treated people with burns even less than Judy, because Judy had 95% of her body burned. And those people lasted only a few days. And she did that mortality, what is it? Yeah, the mortality
The
calculation
equation, yeah, equation for
equation.
mortality.
And do y'all remember what that was? What it ended up being?
Yeah,
What was
oh,
it?
sorry, you can go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead.
See, this is what we were trying to avoid earlier.
No, but that's the beauty, because when you out drinking, most people overtalk each other anyway.
Oh,
But
that
go
is
ahead.
funny. She did say that in the burn world, they have this equation and it's based on the person's age and the percent that they are burned. So, with her being 31 years old, and the nurse actually said 80%, up to 80% of burn in her body, it was 110% of mortality.
Right. And so the expectation was that she was going to expire sooner
That
than
she
she
did.
did.
Yeah.
All right. And so as they were waiting, and the only reason that they actually went ahead and charged the guy is because as they were waiting for months for her to pass away, as sad as that sound and as grim as that sound, she woke up. She came out of it. And because she came out of it, the expectation was is that she was going to survive. And so they went ahead and charged him with that. All right. So we also hear a little bit about the victim fund. What did you all think about that situation?
Crazy.
Fucked up.
Yes.
Okay, so Humberto, since it was fucked up, tell the people what makes it fucked up.
I apologize. Am I allowed to cuss
Yes,
here?
I curse all the fucking time.
Okay.
All the time.
Well, it's fucked up. Are you talking about the victims assistance
Yes.
funds or whatever?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's just fucked up system. And I mean, I feel like this case just highlighted the way that the justice system is fucked up to really like serve true like impactful justice for especially like the victims of domestic abuse. And in this case, the victims assistance wouldn't pay the medical bills for Judy because she was at the time of the incident, they detected that she was abusing drugs in her body. And they were just like, we can't do it. The law is the law. We're not going to pay for any of the things that she has to pay for now. And so
Yeah.
that was just messed up
And
that they had to do that.
And so it appeared as if you used the word abusing, but I just want to make a correction. We don't know whether or not that was the determination. What the mother said is because she had substances in her system.
Oh, right.
Because I don't want to shame the victim. Because she has substances in her system, the way the law was set up is that if there are such substances in the system, that they would not be
Mm-hmm.
able to pay out anything relating to her, even though she's a victim of a crime in this particular case. Which, yeah, as you said, impactful justice is important. And this is an example of non impactful justice because a fund that's set up to help individuals, victims of crimes for various types of crimes and for various reasons, could not help this individual who obviously didn't have the wherewithal to get up and do anything about her situation, given the amount of burns that she experienced as a result of the fire. Okay, so when she does wake up and she starts talking, Judy is very emotional about the fact that he only gets 11 years. But the do you remember what the prosecutor said when he told her that he was in jail? Her reaction?
Wasn't she sad?
Yeah, she was sad.
Yeah.
She was
Oh
hurt that
yeah.
he was in jail. And here she is suffering. And she's more concerned about the fact that he's suffering in the sense of being in the jail. And that could be the continued abuse cycle, right, of someone with power. But I also think that speaks to the humanity that she had within her because it appeared as if she had some kind of religious perspective. Because we'll talk about it, but when she talks about the events on August the 2nd, she talks about her prayer to the Lord, right? And I'm not saying that just because you pray to the Lord, you're religious, but I do think there are some religious aspects to her that motivated her to respond in the way that she did. But she was also upset because he was not remorseful for what he did, right? Which is part of the issue with no contest pleas, right? It's not an individual accepting responsibility for what they did. It's basically them being, in most cases, them refusing to say I'm guilty, even though everybody in the world know they fucking guilty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what does she do? What was kind of her reaction of getting back at the fact that he only can do 11 years?
Wasn't
Ooh,
it when she wanted to say her story?
ooh, did y'all watch the same episode?
I mean, you be asking questions that is like, what? We didn't write that.
She started in the bed communicating with the legislators to pass Judy's law so
Oh,
that
okay.
Oh.
individuals of victims of domestic violence and in such cases hers, the individual, particularly with aggravated assault, the maximum can go between 5 and 20 versus the maximum being 11 years. And she was doing video messages to legislators in a burnt up state, painful state, and things of that nature. Do you remember that now?
Yeah. I
Yes.
remember her also having conversations with other victims. I don't know if you guys saw in one
Oh,
she
I
was
didn't see
talking
that.
with
Mm,
another.
yeah.
Oh my God. I keep doing like
Yeah.
this because watching those videos, oh, it's so painful, like so heartbreaking. Oh
Yeah. And you can tell like the pain is
my
just like
God.
never
Yes.
ending. Like it's just like the act of just like laying down is just like painful to
Yeah.
her. And just yeah, her testimony was just really
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
And when they woke up, for those of you who will watch the documentary, and I highly recommend it, you will see that when she gets up, they just the fact that them trying to change the dressings is overly painful because it sticks to her body as they were being unwrapped and they had to adjust the wrappings. And quite frankly, she just doesn't look like a person in reality. Like, and I thought it was very sad what the daughter said. And even though they mentioned
Mm-hmm.
the daughter's name, I'm not going to mention it because she's still young. But the young daughter, she said, what did she say? She thought she was going to go in because she thought the burns were like what?
Like
Yeah, burn.
cigarette
Yeah,
burns or something, like just like small
yeah.
ones.
Um,
Yeah, and I think the older one said she didn't even recognize her.
yeah, the daughter. And what about the sister when she went in?
That she started
I
puking.
know. She almost passed out. Like,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
from viewing her. Um, and
I mean, that's the thing about like the going back to like the familial trauma is that they had like they had this person that they loved and cared about so much, like seeing them go through this pain for like 2 years that she
oh,
stayed alive, and they weren't even able to like. First of all, they like saw her, couldn't help her, and they also weren't able to like embrace her and just like show like physical
yeah,
affection. especially for the kids. Like that must have been really
Yeah.
hard for all
For
of
And I
the
them.
thought,
brother,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
do you guys remember what the brother said the first time he saw her after it happened?
Yeah, he
Oh
didn't want to
yeah.
hug her because he thought it was going to hurt. But and that
Goodness.
Mhm.
stayed with him because he didn't get a chance to hug her
Oh,
before
I'm
she
gonna
passed
start
away.
crying.
Yeah.
I know. But I thought Danielle said it the best, and Danielle is the sister, but she basically says that the entire that situation has caused PTSD for the entire family to the point that
Hmm.
every individual remembers, identifies differently about the situation and their interactions in that. And that goes to your whole point, Umberto, when you were talking about the familial trauma. And I think the grandmother, who's the mother, also mentioned something similar to that. But it was just it's weird that they all, and you can see in their faces, even in the way that they were talking, just how they navigate through the conversation, the differences of how they approach the situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get to a point where it becomes clear at some point that Judy may not make it as long as people anticipate. And so there was a lot of discussion from the prosecution side, strategy wise, about what is the best way of dealing with if she dies to secure a murder verdict against Michael Slager. And what was their choice, or what did they decide to do?
To do a deposition with her, the video.
Hmm. Yes. Okay. And so this is just a teaching moment, people. So for federal, particularly under the federal rules of civil procedure, there's a rule of procedure that's called Rule 27. In Ohio, actually, you need a refill?
I think so. This episode's going long.
Show you're so ignorant because you know what the problem is, that he does the same noises, but you can't say nothing to him. And then if you make the noise,
And
he
also,
wants to point it out. Like,
and isn't this the whole situation? Isn't this a bar? Should I
right,
get a refill?
hello.
Yes, you should get a refill. You can.
Nah, I'm
Are you
good.
sure? All
Yeah.
right. Are you sure?
Carry on. Oh, what were we
Go
talking
get a
about?
refill.
Nah, I'm good. Tell what was happening.
All right. So, under the rules of civil procedure, Rule 27, Ohio has a similar rule, but what that does is that allows you to perpetuate testimony. And so, basically, what that is that you have to get some kind of order from a court that allows you to obtain testimony from an individual who is expected to expire or presumed to be in a state where they are going to be incapacitated and unable to attend trial. And so, in order to use that typically in a later proceeding, right, you need to make sure that the individual has the ability to confront the witness, right? Because under the criminal law, a defendant has the right to defend or confront their accusers. And in this particular case, the accuser would have been Judy. And so they decided that they were going to do a deposition, a recorded deposition of her. What did Michael say he wanted to do as a result of that?
Wanted to be in the hospital room.
And what else did he want to do?
He wanted to cross-examine her. Oh my god, I was so mad. I was like, mother effer. Oh.
All right. And
But there's a reason why he said that.
why?
Because he says that had he been in the room, she wouldn't have lied. Like, first he
Mhm.
wanted, wait, hold on. He wanted to be there. He wanted to see her testify. He wanted her to see that he was there because his belief was that she wouldn't lie if he was there.
Yeah, but that was just
Mhm.
him been using his power of abuse.
Exactly. Trying to be control, like Humberto mentioned earlier, having that, wanting to have that power over her. Ugh.
Yeah, but fuck
Mhm.
him. Not Umberto, Michael. Okay. But that leads to another thing. When he pled no contest, the only reason he pled no contest was what? Why? Do you remember?
Well, on the first one, he pled no contest in order for her not to testify.
Exactly. And why?
Mhm. Yeah.
Why?
Because if she later on died, her testimony, since it was under oath, would be admissible in his murder trial.
Right. And not just under oath, but subject to cross examination, which is a key
Right.
part because he will have the ability to confront her. So, anyhow, they decide to do this. See, I'm teaching y'all something. Y'all should be learning something here. Umberto, you should be taking vigorous notes right now
Actually,
of
I
this.
think
How do you know I'm not
I
doing
think
that?
we learned from the documentary because all this was mentioned in the
Nah, y'all don't know
documentary.
nothing about the Rule 27, how it works, why it worked, and all
They
that. I'm
mentioned
teaching you.
they mentioned that
No,
there
they
was no
didn't. Because
rule in Ohio.
if they did, you would have repeated it. Thank you.
Sir,
Moving
go
on.
back and listen to it. He did
I heard them.
mention.
I know that. Okay,
Oh,
listen. Okay, so we do the deposition, but in order for her to participate, what did they have to do?
bring her off of her
Oh,
meds,
Wean
of
yeah,
her
her off of
pain.
all her pain medication.
Oh,
And that was a very
so bad.
painful thing to watch because you saw her in pain. She was literally crying out, saying how much it hurts. And anyhow, you can go and watch all that. So we skip to the part where we get to the deposition. And her lawyer asked not her lawyer, the prosecution asked her questions about what happened. And she's very clear on the events that
Hmm.
occurred on
wait, but
August.
even before the lawyer asked her, though, let's not skip when the lady did her oath and then the defense attorney
I know.
immediately objected.
Well, and he should have. He did the right thing. He's
Yeah.
basically preserving his objection because he doesn't agree with the fact that the judge allowed this deposition.
Mhm.
But yes, and so what did she say was kind of what happened on her view on August the 2nd, Humberto? Do you remember? What was
I don't remember the
mhm.
details, but I mean, she just described like him just, I mean, we kind of already talked about it, but the thing that stood out to me in her recollection of it was just how he was just like really angry and how she saw his eyes go black when he was like pouring this gasoline on her and then lighting her on
Mhm.
fire. And I feel like, I mean, just like the fact that she just remembers that so vividly of what happened on like August 5th. And yeah, that's what I recall from her recollection of the
Yeah, and
situation.
then she says that he was not responding to her cries for help.
Hmm.
And that the whole pop situation, he basically was saying, oh, you want to pour pop on me, see how you like this bitch. And he then goes to the car, pulls the gasoline, pours it on her. And what she says is that not only did he pour it all over her, but he poured it into her mouth. And she emphasized how that had a burning sensation in her throat,
Yeah.
which I thought was very powerful for her to remember and recollect those events. And then she goes on cross examination, and the lawyer thought he was getting somewhere by trying to say she didn't remember. You want to talk about that, Denise?
I only laugh because he really tried. You got to give it to him. He
Yeah.
tried to make it seem like the trauma that you've been through doesn't allow you to recollect certain things because he started asking her, do you remember
What
the
she
clothes that you
wore.
have on?
Hmm.
Do you remember getting dressed? Do you remember where you had drugs? And she told him, she's like, sir, I've been through so much. I don't remember those minor details. I remember what happened, but I don't remember the little things. And it's like he was trying to talk, but she was over talking him, and it was almost like he gave up. He's like, whatever, I'm not even gonna ask no more.
And you know what was the most, I thought was the most powerful part of her testimony on cross was when she said to him, I can't remember all that, but I remember him setting me on fire. And that was the most painful
Hmm.
event I ever been through, something of that
Oh
nature,
yeah.
right? And that just encapsulated the fact of that she, if a jury were to hear that, I think a jury be either dumb not to say that he actually,
Hmm.
committed the crime. And she also punched back when he was trying to make her out to be a drug addict because she basically said, "Yeah, bitch." Basically, she didn't say bitch, but
Yeah.
yeah, bitch.
Yeah.
It was Michael who gave it to me, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You check with your client before you come for me. And I thought she did an excellent job,
Yeah, me too. Yep,
even
I
through the pain
agree.
of that. Yeah, yeah. So ultimately, Michael is charged with murder because she passes away shortly after her deposition, a few months after, I think like 3 or 4, or somewhere between 3 and 5 months. She passes away. And I don't know, what do you all think about this? The sister said that she thought her mother was being selfish by keeping her this long. What was your thought on that?
I mean, I feel like yeah, I see both. I mean, where she's coming from. I feel like definitely, I'm sure that the mom was like not wanting to let her go. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to be in that situation where like you see someone that you love so much go through so much pain, but also not wanting to let them go because they're still like, you know, they're still alive. And so I do see her being to some degree like selfish, but I'm sure that Judy was, also like willing to fight, as she talked about like wanting to pass Judy's law, which, and I know we'll get to, but like that, I think it's a little more complicated than just saying the mom was selfish.
Denise, anything on that?
No, I agree. I think that as parents, we want to be selfish because we don't want to see our kids pass away. So, yeah, she probably held on to her more than she should have. But I also think that Judy had a determination and she was set in
Hmm.
accomplishing it too. So I could
Yeah.
see either way.
And I think the nurse said it best for me, or encapsulated it best for me, where she basically said that Judy had a spirit that wanted to live, but a body
Hmm.
that couldn't basically keep up. Right. And I thought that encapsulated that because she lived about 2 years after the burn,
Yeah.
right? Almost 2 years because she died on July 27th, 2017. And the burns happened. I mean, the incident happened on August the 2nd. What about where they wanted to, before he took the plea, where because he was dead set on going to trial, right? Michael, he wanted to go to trial for the
Hmm.
murder.
Till the end, he didn't want to admit fault. Like,
Right, exactly. But what do you all think about the conversation where they were talking about the death penalty and putting the plea on the table between the mom, the kids, that conversation? Do you ever remember that? What do y'all think about it?
Yeah, that was hard. I mean, I feel like they were putting this like death penalty conversation and just this conversation in general on like these kids to like have to navigate, which is like, as someone who's not a parent, like I can understand how that's just like really difficult to even have be experience that with your child or with a grandchild, and then to have to like navigate through that. It just does not seem like an easy conversation to have. And this child being like, he deserves the death penalty or like that. Like that's just like, I'm like, damn girl.
She
Like
did.
what?
She basically,
But
yeah.
also like,
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't know. That's hard.
No, the
It
little
was,
girl said if Michael had the guts to do what he did to Judy, then the same should occur to him. That was a young one.
yeah,
they have a
Uh,
lot of rage in them, a lot of
yeah.
anger.
but
And you saw the religion side of
exactly.
the lady also being like, you gotta let God like, forgive. And that's hard to have that
It
conversation
is.
where you see like your mom just like being burnt and laying on a hospital bed, and you see this other person like not getting the punishment that you think he deserves because of that.
Yeah, and the oldest daughter, I don't even know how old she was, but the oldest daughter's perspective, thought resonated with me, and I think that's the probably how I would think about it, because I have a
Hmm.
love-hate relationship with the death penalty. I definitely don't think it should be completely banned, but I think it should be used sparingly. But
Hmm.
in this particular case, what the daughter said was, "Look, this motherfucker's been in jail essentially all his life. Being in jail is a reward for him, and he's not going to learn anything from that." Which I thought was a powerful statement, and her position that she felt that the death penalty was something that should have been on the table versus this plea deal. But yeah, like Humberto was saying, is that the grandmother kind of had this like religious religious response that let God take care of it and blah blah blah. Denise, you want to say something about that?
I do, because I felt that the whole conversation was unnecessary. Because you have
Hmm.
a video of Judy stating exactly what she wants to happen if he's ever charged with murder. So why are you exposing these kids? Why are you even bringing this conversation up to the kids and exposing them or making them give you their opinion if at the end of the day you already knew what your daughter wanted and you already knew that it wasn't going to be the death penalty?
Yeah, but see, I saw that, and again, we're looking at a video, a documentary that's edited for purposes of the show. But fundamentally, what we don't hear is whether or not the question was asked. If we were to place him on death penalty, would you support that or oppose that? We don't know that. We could have. She just wanted something to happen to him.
Who, Judy,
That
you mean?
right, because we don't hear the question that was asked to Judy to solicit that answer. Because remember, if we parallel that to why she fought for Judy's law, it was because she thought 11 years was too short, right? And so from that, I gather that was part of kind of the motivation to keep him there for life. But I'm not sure that necessarily indicated that she felt one way or the other about the death penalty because we didn't hear the actual question, is what I'm saying.
He did. He asked her if
He
he's
said, "What do
charged.
you want to happen?" He didn't say that we're seeking a death penalty. How would you
No, no,
feel
no.
about
He
that?
didn't say it that way, but he did say if he gets charged with murder, what would you like to happen?
No, I get that.
Mhm.
What I'm saying,
I feel like he left it open-ended enough where if she wanted the death penalty, she would have said,
Exactly. That's
and she went with like, no, I want him to be life in prison.
exactly. That's what I'm
okay, but
saying.
wait,
Like,
people,
listen, you have to respect our opinions. Like, I honestly feel I get what you're saying. I completely understand what you're saying, but I also think that the mom had a lot to do in influencing a lot of the things that Judy did. And I
Yeah.
don't think you can sit and say that her and her mom did not have conversations at length talking about if he ever
I
gets
didn't say
charged
that.
with murder, and he gets death penalty, this and that. My opinion is I do not feel they should have subjected these two little girls to have that conversation
Mhm.
about death penalty or life in prison. You should have just said, this is possibly what he's going to get, and that's it.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
I agree
I
with that.
I
I
don't
agree.
disagree with that. I'm not even talking about the kids. I agree wholeheartedly. But the question becomes, I do. The question really is, were any of the kids age appropriate? And I don't think there's
Yeah, that's true.
a black leather that at this
Yeah.
age you're age appropriate. It sounds to me that both of them navigated the uncomfortable conversations more effectively, I think, that I would at their age, if I was at their age.
Mhm.
And so it leads me to believe that they had enough information within themselves to have that uncomfortable conversation. What I was bringing up is that the judges, excuse me, the lawyer, the defense lawyer was basically trying to say that Judy spoke what she wanted. And what I'm saying is that's not really fair because we don't know what the question was. I'm not talking about the kids. So we were just on two different wavelengths on that. I agree with you
But
all.
I thought we did hear him. I thought we did hear him ask the question. He said, "What punishment would you want
Yes,
for
but
him?"
from a legal perspective, I'm saying from a legal perspective, that's not a sufficient question to say that she ruled out the death penalty. Um,
How would you have asked it to get a more to get the response that you feel like would have really reflected her deep
In
true.
Ohio, for murder, the penalty is death or life in prison. We are going to seek the death penalty. How do you feel about that? That would get me to realize that was really her wishes. Because if I was the prosecution, at the end of the day, they can consider what the family wants, but they don't have to agree with it. And if he really wanted to push the trial the way he did, and to me, he really did, I would have said, fuck that, we're going for the death penalty, period. Point blank, period, the end. That's the way I would have done it, right? And I would have said, my argument would be is that this does not foreclose the victim's desire for the death penalty or disdain for the death penalty, is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes, Sean, it does.
Y'all just some haters, boy. Every time I
No, but I
bring
do
up
want to mention about the age appropriate thing because I think that I don't
my
know.
allergies,
I felt like the grandma, I don't know why I feel like she almost attacks the oldest daughter. Like I don't like how she kept telling her, you don't know, you don't have coping skills, you don't understand what your mom had to go. Yeah, she don't understand. She's young. Why would you even tell her that? She's not gonna understand what her mom had to go through having two kids at a young
Yeah.
age. Like I don't know. I just for some reason it didn't sit well with me the way she treats that the oldest daughter of Judy. And in a way, I feel like the anger that the daughter has is because she can't express herself. Like she
Mhm.
can't be honest with how she really feels because she's attacked if she does. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I felt like I feel like Bonnie needed some facilitation training to how
Right.
to just really handle this whole trauma that these kids were going through. So Bonnie, if you're out there, let me know.
Yeah.
I can come and
And
train you.
it's crazy. It's funny that you say that because that's exactly what I was thinking. If there's somebody that watches
Yeah,
this and has that professional license, to be able to offer them help, I think this family truly needs some help. Like,
yeah. Well, I feel like she herself, like they were all just going through it
yes.
together, and so she was in her feelings, like she was going through it. So I don't like totally disregard. I
Right.
don't want to totally disregard her feelings in those conversations because she was going through that same
Yeah.
trauma. But I think as an adult, you also have to remember that these are like kids
Exactly.
who don't have the same brain development to be able to handle these difficult conversations and this similar trauma that you're
Yep.
experiencing, but in a different way. So I just feel like she needed a little bit more understanding, a little bit more care in handling those conversations. But
I
yeah,
agree.
I don't know.
Mhm.
They were going through it.
Yeah, I'll keep my comments to myself, so I won't
Oh
get
my Lord.
so I won't get attacked on my own
You
platform.
won't get attacked, but how do you feel about the way she treated, not treated, but how she would approach the conversations with the oldest grandkid?
I mean, here's how I'm going to say it. I didn't like it, but I understand it because
Yeah.
it's easy for us to sit back as Monday morning coach trying to tell her how she should have navigated this. But this was real time and navigating
Yeah.
through the concept of the grief of losing her daughter, to protect her daughter from getting to that point. And when her daughter got to that point, there was nothing she could do to comfort her daughter, right? And coupled with the fact that I think she feels remorse or guilty for her
Mm-hmm.
being even with Michael, because if she was not addicted to any kind of drugs or anything like that, maybe Michael would not be in the picture, even though Michael is not on drugs or didn't use drugs, right? But also,
Mm-hmm.
the kids are navigating with the anger of being left out of the conversation because this is their mother. They should have been informed about what was going on. Like, was she getting treatment, this, that, and the third. But I agree that the grandmother appeared to lash out at the older daughter. But I think there are some dynamics there where those two kind of clash about
Mm-hmm.
the whole situation. So I would say that I do think that it's necessary for them to have therapy as a family, but individually as well, so that they can figure
Yeah.
out their coping mechanisms, and then they can come together to figure out how they can heal, or at least not even heal, but at least kind of navigate the situation as a core group. This is how I would look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I also
I
think,
agree.
I mean, I think it's important for me to say I admire the kids' tenacity. I admire the way
Yeah.
that they navigated through the uncomfortable conversations and dealing with the fact that they lost a parent, but also dealing with the
Totally.
traumatic way in which they lost a parent. And I thought that they handled it with grace and maturity that I don't think I would be able to do at their age. And so
Yeah.
that's
And they
kind of,
even were advocates for the Judy's Law too. So
mhm,
that was,
Mm-hmm. They were like providing
yeah, that was
yeah,
testimony.
really impressive.
I just want to say that I appreciate you just bringing it back to the resilience of the kids because this was like such a traumatic experience. And like for these kids,
Oh my God, yes.
it's going to be with them forever. And the fact that they not only like experienced it, but also made this documentary, were on camera, are now obviously being discussed by strangers who don't know their full like life and experience. It's just, I think that it's important to just name it and just recognize that they were true, like really courageous to even be in this
I agree.
documentary and to share their story. So
yeah,
I appreciate that.
And
for
be so
sure.
vulnerable because you can see them crying too,
Hmm.
It's a good documentary.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any
Yeah.
other big pieces that we didn't talk about?
I just want to talk about the defense attorney at the end.
Oh, yeah, go
Oh
ahead.
yeah.
How they asked him the question
Yeah.
if he thought that, that Mike was innocent. And he's like, it took like a period of silence. And then he's like, yeah, no, I find that hard to buy. And
Hmm.
I thank him
he,
for
he
that
said, I
because,
find it hard to buy and
yes.
hard to sell.
And I mentioned this to Sean, out of all the documentaries that we've watched, crime related, never have I seen a defense attorney actually be so honest of how he truly
Yeah.
feels, and I don't know. At first, I was like so mad at him when he did the cross examination. Like, oh, don't you see, how in pain she is, and you dare ask these questions. But then when he said that, it was like, wow, we don't really know the trouble that these defense attorneys really have to go through, try to defending someone that they may not think is innocent.
Yeah.
But they still have to sell a story of this person is innocent. Oh.
Well, and that goes to now that I know that we actually have more time, because I thought it was under time constraints.
Well, also look at you getting a refill and making fun of me for needing a
Oh,
refill. Pulling out this handle of Tito's under your desk.
yes, I need a refill. I pause this all. We pause this all the time to refill. That's why I was being serious to say if you need a refill, get a refill.
Well, he's the only one who refills. I don't refill.
Yeah. It also didn't seem serious. It seemed like you were shaming me for needing.
Boy, go get some more drink, because we still got at least 15 more minutes.
I'm okay. But thank you. I appreciate it. Next time I'll be more prepared and have my handle over here and my club soda over here, just so I can refill here.
But I do want to bring that point, because it's hard out here for lawyers.
It is.
Sure.
Yeah.
You all, a lot of times you all don't understand the intricacies of what you have to do, and particularly for criminal defense. I don't do criminal law, right? But for criminal defenders, they have a right to counsel. They have a right to present their case. They have a right to present their defense. They have a right to have an attorney represent their interests, right? And oftentimes what people don't realize is that lawyers don't control the show, right? Lawyers can talk about strategy. We can give strategy. It's the clients who run the show. If a client wants to do something, as long as it is ethically appropriate, is legally sound, right, reasonable, then we have to present that. So people forget to understand that it's not, lawyers is just making up bullshit, whatever, right? Even if you, as a lawyer, your client can go on the stand and totally lie, right? As a criminal defense lawyer, you can't stand up and be like, "Oh, my client is lying," right? There's ethical bounds with all of that. So I say all that because jurors sometimes give lawyers bad raps, and they make decisions because they don't like a certain thing that a lawyer did, or this, that, and the third, or people make comments about lawyers. But it's a hard job. I'm not trying to say that woe is us, right? Because we also, some individuals are making good money doing it, and some are shitty lawyers, and some are unethical. But we do have to recognize that the client's rights and expectations are just as important as just the presentation of that from the lawyer. And so we are nothing but a vessel of truth, okay, that we're trying to give to the people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, though, because I'm the first one who will sit there and be
you
like,
are horrible at it.
This effing lawyer. But I will say.
But look, Humberto, she's the first person to be like, if I'm a juror, I always take every case and I think like I'm a juror. Yes, that's why I would never have your ass on the jury.
Exactly. Like,
you will fuck it up.
The first thing they tell me, I'm like, guilty. Nope, I can't see nothing past that. It's hard. I don't understand why we have this jury system, because people like me, I would hate somebody to have me in their jury panel, because he's right. I can't. If you tell me something and I immediately think you're guilty, no matter how many proof you show me, you're guilty in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I still get these jury notices in the mail. Like, stop! I'm in a podcast, and do you not listen to the podcast where I say that I cannot? But I will say this, though, going back to what you were saying about the lawyers, though, I do want you to know, and I've mentioned this in one other podcast, that you have made influences on Dorian. Like, Dorian sees how hard you work, and he's now to the point where he had to choose high schools. He didn't have to choose, because he could go to his homeschool high school, but he also, in the city of Virginia Beach, kids entering high school can choose high schools based on what the high schools offer. And one of the high schools was offering law. And I was like, Durian, you should really do that because look at Sean. And he's like, nah, I see how hard he works and how much work he has. And I don't want to do that. So if it makes a difference, though, although he said he didn't want to do it, he recognizes that you work really hard doing your job. So
Yeah.
yeah, he immediately was like, no, he works too hard. He doesn't have time off. But I was like, you'd be really good at it.
Yeah, he would actually.
Yeah.
All
He
right.
actually explained to me because when they were showing about the Judy's Law, they mentioned the senator, but when they actually, when I was Googling it, it said representative. So I had to ask him, and he explained to me that representatives and the senators are not the same.
No.
And though he also explained to me that the representative is the one that the people go to if they want a bill to be passed, and so he presents it over, and so he explained a lot of that to me earlier. So
yeah, and you have more representatives than senators, and you can technically go to the senators too, but most of the time they ain't doing shit.
He also, because I thought it was a national law, but he explained to me that no, they only passed it in the state of Ohio, not in the entire U.S. So I have a very intelligent kid, 14-year-old. Debian is very intelligent. He just doesn't apply himself.
Don't be talking about my son like that. He's just lazy.
By the way, he just left, so he's on his way to you.
All right. Yeah, he's just lazy. Okay. So that is episode 79, The Fire That Took Her. I want to thank Denise, as always, for participating. Denise, you want to say something to the people?
Thank you for having me. And Humberto, it's a pleasure to meet you. Hopefully we can do this
Likewise.
often.
Yes, I hope I'm invited again.
Well, at least you got my invitation. And I'm the co-host. Okay. Oh, today I'm no co-host, but okay.
I actually, I changed it. See, look, hold up. Even for me, I don't have anything.
Gotcha.
Oh, nice.
All right. So, and I also want to thank Humberto for taking the time to come. This is the second time that you have joined the podcast. First time actually here in the studio area. Now you are virtual because you are out there in Portland. You want to say anything to the people?
No, thank you for having me. That's it. Yeah, I hope I can come back. I guess I'll just keep an eye out on my inbox, see if I'm invited again.
And you want to tell the people, if somebody was very interested in visiting Portland, what would you say? Why should they visit Portland?
They should come in the summer because summers are beautiful here. That's it. Because it's a lot more fun than Portlandia makes it seem.
Oh my God, you just a hater. Denise, have you ever watched Portlandia? Oh my God, it's a great show. You should watch it. It's on AMC. But you've been to Portland.
There's great food and a lot of food options. If you're vegan, there's a lot for you here. Yes. And there's a lot of really good rivers and lakes and stuff to explore. So definitely come in the summer. And
is it diverse?
Come if you're vegan. It depends on your definition of diverse, but it is very white. But there's a lot of diversity of all kinds.
I was always in the downtown area, but I did go to Cannon Beach.
Yes, that's pretty.
It was really nice. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
All right, so for those of you out there looking and listening, you can reach us on Facebook at Peeps Creek Cafe. You can hit us on IG, Twitter, and Twitch at Peeps Creek. YouTube, Peeps Creek Podcast. And of course, on the website that I work diligently on to do the videos and edit the videos and make sure that you have a transcript that scrolls with the video. That is all available on the website, peepscreek.com. All of the links for everything that's us is that's our email. Sorry. So yeah, so if you you really love my voice and it's like, oh my God, your voice is so awesome. You really want to send me an email, say that, cafe@peepscreek.com. If you want to say like Denise is annoying, cafe@peepscreek.com. If you want to say Humberto should not come back, cafe@peepscreek.com.
Oh my God, don't open up that question.
I'll just play up that. And then all of the links are at cafe.peepscreek.com/links. Oh, and Humberto has volunteered to take over to deal with the social
Wait,
media.
why are you saying that? Don't put it out there.
So I can put it on the
If-
record.
But if anything goes wrong, then people know who to blame. Don't do that. That'll just be like low-key volunteering.
So are you denying that you're volunteering?
He didn't say that. He did not say that.
I just said keep it on the low.
Nah.
Just in case of any errors. That's exactly
Nah,
what
because he
he
tried to
said.
put it on. He gonna put it on his resume. He'll use it when it's appropriate for his
I'll
convenience.
use it in my resume if it's successful. I'm not going to use it in my resume if it doesn't work. That's the whole point of a resume.
Exactly.
All right. So until next time, make sure that you continue to drink, listen, and converse. Peace and love.